Hi guys, I hope you can see. I'm sitting at a terrible place, but I'm sitting at my kitchen table. This is what I'm working on. This adorable little clown. And I'm working right here. But I wanted to stop and talk to you guys and spend a little time with you. I hope you've had a fantastic day. I've had a marvelous day. Now, let me tell you, when it is pretty outside, oh me, it couldn't get no better for me. Yeah, no better. So, with that being said, I just thank each and every one of you that are here. We're going to jump, so I thought I'd spend a little time. It is a little past 8:30. Something just fell, but if you could see my kitchen table. Back in the day, when your tables was covered, you'd say, it's getting ready to walk away. Well, that's what I feel like my table's about to do. It's getting ready to walk away. We're going to work in this area right here. Yeah, I hope each and every one of you had a great day. It was it got up, well, at first they said it was just going to be like in the 70, 71. Well, let me tell you, it got up past that. So me and Bella was outside most of the day. Actually, we didn't do much of anything except sit at the neighbors on the neighbor's front porch and talk with her. I did get the Temu order in. I've got so many canvases on here, it's kind of spongy. Oh, I know what I'll do. Maybe if I do this, that will help it. Oh, yeah. All right. We got it going on now. Yeah, that's much better. Now, you know, if you got a bunch of canvas laying around, you know what your cutting board's good for. I'm from the old school. You make things happen. Sometimes because we grew up poor. I'm talking poor. When the wind blew, the curtains blew out. When it snowed, it blew the snow in the cracks. That kind of poor. But you know what? We didn't know we was poor. Daddy worked. He laid block. But back when my dad laid block, he first started out, he would tell us, he started out making 10 cents a block. 10 cents a block. He said by the time he quit or retired, he was making 50 cents a block. So just imagine trying to raise 8 kids, that kind of money. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. back then, women didn't work out as much as they do now. But I guess with 8 kids, anything she brought home would have probably went for a babysitter. Of course, I guess with 8 kids, the older kids could have watched the younger kids. Oh my gosh, that would have been a disaster in our house. You just gotta know my family. But anyway, but he took care of us. We always had food on the table. We always had clothes. Not the best, but we had clothes. We always had food. We always had a home. My dad always made sure we had a home. It might have not been a big, lavish home, but you know what it had? It had God and it had love. So with those 2 things, you couldn't go wrong. Now, of course, as kids, you know, you go to school and you see other kids with things. And so that's when you start noticing that you don't have stuff. It's not because you were brought up without it. It's because you started seeing other kids without it. I mean, with it. But, yeah, my childhood was rough. But you know what? It made me the person I am today. It made me appreciate the small stuff. It made me be more compassionate. So, I'm okay with it now. I remember one time, now my nephew Ricky, I've told you about him. He was 4 years younger than me. I remember, now I don't know how old I was, but I had to be young, really young. Because I was on a tricycle. And you know the bar on the back of the tricycle? He was standing behind me on that bar. And we was riding a tricycle. Well, my brother, we lived on a hill. My brother had parked his car, Ricky's dad, on the hill. And it was a stick. And it had jumped out of gear. And I remember Mama screaming. And Ricky jumped off the back. I jumped off the tricycle. And the car rubbed against me. And when it stopped at the bottom of the hill, that tricycle was all entangled up underneath that. You talking about, that was a close call. And I guess as a kid, I didn't realize that it was a close call. I just looked at it as the car didn't hit me. But as I got older, I realized, you know what? I had a purpose. And God was watching over me and Ricky that day. And I'm sure if you looked back, took time and looked back, there's probably times in your life that you didn't even know it. But God was watching out for you. So even through the bad, God watches out for you. But the stories I have, girl, y'all, woo. Yeah, I started working outside pulling weeds. And so I got the weeds pulled. And out my flatbed. That's not straight at all. So that was a big job. It was my irises. They're coming up, but all the dead is in them. So I was trying to clean that out. But if you're not careful when you pull, it'll slide through your hand. Oh, that's not a good thing. It will cut your hand. So I did that. Then, like I said, the neighbor come over and one sit out. So we sat out on the front porch. Remember sitting out on the front porch as kids? You know, the night. As kids, we would play out in the woods. We lived at one time on 189 acres. We rented the house. Our job was to watch over this house. The owner lived in Louisville. That's where he worked and where he lived. He had several properties. And so we got our house free, but we had to work his land and watch over the house and take care of everything. 180 acres. Let me tell you, we run that 180 acres. Me, my sister Donna, sometimes, not all the time, and Ricky. His brother Robert would not play with us. He said it was too rough. So he wouldn't play with us. And it could be that when we were younger, we would gang up on him. So I guess we wasn't the nicest. But anyway, so, and you know, not one time did we think about snakes or bobcats or anything, which several had been seen, and snakes had been seen, terrible. But we'd run and we'd play, and as soon as we'd find a grapevine, we'd find a fantastic grapevine, and we'd be having all kinds of fun. Here'd come Daddy, and he'd cut it down. Well, let me tell you, we'd stand there, and we'd watch him cut it down. As soon as he'd leave, we'd say, let's go find another one. And the hunt was on to find another one. Me and my nephew, Ricky, had won many of a battle roaming those woods. We had so much fun. We had trails and we'd romp and play. But at night, when it started getting dark, Mom would call us in. And we'd sit on the front porch and Mama and Daddy would talk about the old times. The good old days, as they called it. And they'd talk about how they grew up. And, you know, people don't do that no more. We don't sit around and talk anymore. People's too busy on the phone. They're too busy doing this and that. And where's the family? We used to, of course, Mom and Daddy would talk about when they were young and when they met. Mama met Daddy. Her and her cousin was walking by a pond. Daddy and a bunch of his buddies was in swimming. And Mama looked at her cousin and said, "Right there's the man I'm going to marry." She said, "Oh, you ain't going to marry him. He's wild." Yep, she married him. And I always liked that story when Mama tell it. And I never heard my mom call my daddy by his name. My dad, I never heard him call my mom by her name. It was always, "Go tell your mama," or she'd say, "Go get your daddy." They referred to each other as Mama and Daddy. It just, I don't know, it just seemed strange. Once I got grown, it was like they never used their name. But I remember we had sat on that porch, and we had an old wooden plank porch. Oh, I can see it so clear. The driveway, here was the house, and here was the porch, big old porch. And the driveway pulled up past, right by, and my mom would get out there in the daytime, and she'd sweep that ground. And I'd look at my sister, and I'd say, "She's sweeping dirt." But my mom's always told me and my sister, "You can be poor, but you can take care of what you got. You can always go clean. Just because you're poor don't mean you have to be dirty." I miss those days sometimes. Would I go back to those days? No, I would never go back to those days. Too much bad stuff. But the memories. And notice, sometimes even the bad stuff, you remember the good stuff without the bad stuff. But we had sat on that porch, and they'd talk, and Daddy in the summertime would take some old rags and build a little fire to keep the mosquitoes. Woo! The mosquitoes would eat you alive. I think they was about the size of your hand. As a kid, that's what they felt like. And, of course, that smoke would keep the mosquitoes away. On the way home from church tonight, for some reason, I started thinking of my childhood. Started thinking of my best friend Doris. We was the same age. At that time, we lived in Warren County. And they built a bridge across from Warren County to Butler County, where I eventually moved. And when they built the bridge, me and her, they had just put the blacktop on this road. I mean, you could feel the heat off of it. And they was over at our house. And we was out running and playing. And we was running on that, yes, on that freshly blacktopped bridge. And we was having the best time. And I remember falling. Oh, let me tell you, blacktop, whoo-wee. It will tear, fresh blacktop will tear your knees up in a heartbeat. My knees were all skin up. Of course, when I went home, Mama slapped the mercury coat on it. We lived. It was strange because we lived on the 100 and like here was the bridge, here was the road, the river, Green River run here. They built a bridge across. Our driveway was right next to Green River, that 180 acres. Doris and her sister Joanne, who was Donna's best friend, lived over the hill in a trailer. Her sister and her mom. And I've often wondered whatever happened to Doris. Sorry. Last time I saw her, she had 2 little boys. And she was in the process of getting a divorce from her husband. Because he was not a good fellow. And it actually went to school with him and his family. He was from a big family. But I've often wondered what happened to her. She got mixed up with the wrong crowd. Lost her children. Her mom was raising them. You often wonder what happened to the people you grew up with. You know. Now, the people I went to school with, it's me and one other girl that's only one alive. The rest of my classmates, they've all died. And it's strange. In the 1st grade, I went to school with this little boy. I've never forgotten that kid. He was mean. The biggest. Now, when I grew up, you didn't have these soft little slides like they had today. You had those old metal slides that got hot, and when you went down, they set you on fire. Yeah, those are the kind of slides I grew up with. Yeah, you didn't have these nice little slides they have today. Well, I was up on the tallest slide. Probably now that I'm grown, it probably won't seem that tall, but it seemed like it was, if I'd stuck my hand up, I could have touched the clouds. That's how tall it seemed to me at the time. Well, he come up behind me on the slide and pushed me off the slide, and I broke my arm. Well, of course, I cried. The old teacher, Mrs. Oates, she was 90 years old. teaching first grade. She was a hateful old thing. She was everything you think of as an old teacher. She, like I said, was 90 years old, had real short curly hair. She wore these polyester, real dull clothes, and she never smiled. Just always was in a bad mood. Well, of course, I was crying because my arm was hurt. She come back there and she said, "Quit being a baby, shut up." Well, she didn't call my mom. Of course, back then you didn't have cell phones anyway. But she didn't go to the office. She just told me I was being a baby. I need to shut up. And I don't know if she smacked my hand or what. I just know she drew back and I was afraid of her. She said, "Move your arm." I moved it and she said, "There's nothing wrong. If you can move your arm, you're fine." Well, by the time I got home, it was too late to take me to the doctor because the doctor's office closed. And back then, you didn't have emergency rooms like you do now. So next morning, Mama takes me to the doctor, and in here, it was broke twice. Woo! I saw a whole new side to my mama when she went to school. You know that song, Harper Valley PTA, where the mama goes up in the school? That's how my mama went up in the school. And if you don't know that song, look it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Yeah, woo! My mom went up in that school. And man, needless to say, I got to laugh on that kid because he got a spanking. And I've often wondered what happened to him. Isn't it strange how things will happen and bring back memories? Now, this all happened on the way home tonight. All these childhood memories of people I went to school with, my friends. Now, when we moved to Butler County, out to the boonies, my best friend, her name was Linda. Yeah, Linda. All we needed was a guy that said, "Here's my sister, Linda, my other sister, Linda." But anyway, and we ran around. We had fun. It was fun times. When I went to school in Butler County, of course, that's where we got blown away in the tornado. And of course, they passed us. They just went ahead and put us through. And I don't know if that was a good thing or not. Of course, when I got out of the next year of school, I had seizures and I fell so far behind. I couldn't keep up. I hated school to start with. Let me tell you, back to first grade. Little boy, our school was a block building. Richardsville was where it was at. Well, next door was a little boy lived in this house, but I cannot for the life of me think of his name. But I can remember that mean little kid's name. But anyway, he was my buddy. And I hated school. He hated school. So he'd say, "You want to go to my house?" And I'd say, "Sure." Now, my mom never knew this. Never. Even when I got grown, I never mentioned this. And we would go to his mom's house. But the surprising thing, we'd go to his mom's house, we'd play. She never sent us back home. I mean, back to school. She would tell us, "You can stay today, but don't make a habit out of it." And he'd say, "Okay, Mom." She was very soft-spoken. I just thought his mom was the best mom in the world. She never yelled at him. Even when he went home and played hooky, she'd just say, "Don't make a habit out of this." And of course, I was in the first grade, so I kind of didn't understand what that meant. But I think he did, because we only did it like 2-3 times, and we never did it anymore. Because I wouldn't ask him. He would always say, "You want to go to my house?" But, yeah, we only did it 2 or 3 times. But she'd give us milk and cookies. To me, I thought he must be rich. He's got milk and cookies. We'd have the milk. We wouldn't have the cookies. So, yeah. It was stuff like that. Well, guys, I'm going to have to let you go. So I don't know why I poured that in there, seeing the time. Yeah. So it was nice going down memory lane with you guys. Do you often wonder about the kids that you was friends with in school? Are you still in contact with those people that you went to school with? Do you still see them? Do you still go do stuff with them? Do you ever sit and wonder what ever happened to them? And the thing about it was, from 5th grade to 8th grade, all the kids, we were all together for that many years. So we became very close. And when one of us got in trouble, the others, we'd take up for each other, because we had became so close to one another. And yeah, so it was like we was a family. So yeah, I just went down memory lane on the way home from church. Don't know why. I saw something and it triggered a thought. And from there, it just snowballed. So you guys have a good night. Thank you for stopping by and us having this little chat. And maybe you'll think of that one person in school that you just enjoyed being around. And you couldn't wait until the next day to get to school to spend time with them. So, with that being said, me and Bella's going to get ready, go to bed. You guys have a blessed night and hang tight and don't give up. That's the whole importance of this. Don't give up. No matter what you're going through, you hang strong. You stay strong. Hold on. Don't give up. Bye, guys.